Before you go any further in this video, make sure that you have done step 1 in your Canvas video. You should have watched the Anywhere Math video and the Khan Academy video. Once you've done that, print out your notes if you want to and start this part. Another thing you might want to do is print out your STAR reference material. If you don't have yours from earlier in the year, you can go down to the help section and print that out. The formula that we will use for this lesson is on your STAR reference sheet. It's the area for a rectangle or parallelogram, and it's circled on here. So students, if you were not able to print this, remember that is okay. You can take some notes on any piece of paper and just follow along. The key to this will be posted on Canvas, so you can look at that later as well. When we're looking at rectangles, area is the surface measurement of a two-dimensional figure. And remember, two-dimensional is flat. It's like a piece of paper, or if you were just looking at the floor in your house, area would be covering it. So if I wanted to color this whole piece of paper, I would be coloring the area of this rectangle. When we do area for a rectangle, the formula is area equals base times height. And remember, with algebra, we do not need to write the multiplication symbol in between those letters. The fact that they're side by side tells us that we're multiplying the base times the height. B is the length of the base, and H is the height of the rectangle. So if we were looking at a rectangle on a piece of paper, this would be the base, this would be the height. We used to say length times width, but for whatever reason they've decided in math, we are going to say base times height from now on. Area is measured in square units, and you can see that on these pictures here. So for example, if we had a rectangle that was 6 inches by 7 inches, the units would be inches squared. If it was in feet, it would be feet squared, and I'm just abbreviating these measurements. And then if it was meters, meters squared. And sometimes they don't give us the units at all, so in that case we would just say units squared, or sometimes we say square units, and we can abbreviate that word square. Okay, we're going to practice a few of these. So for the first rectangle, the formula to find the area again is always area equals base times height. So we can count the actual units on this rectangle. The base is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units. And the height is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 units. So if we were to plug that into our equation, area equals 5 times 7. 5 times 7 is 35. So our area is 35 units squared, or square units. Right, I want you to look at rectangle 2 and rectangle 3 and see if you can solve those. The formula, of course, is going to be area equals base times height. So count the values for the base, count the values for the height, and do your math. You can pause it here and then check back with me by pressing play in a minute. Okay, for rectangle 2, you should have gotten the base of 9 and the height of 6. So it would be area equals 9 times 6. Now, if I wrote 6 times 9, that's fine. It's still going to give me the same answer. Remember, with multiplication, I can multiply in any order I want and I get the same answer. And the area would be 54 units squared. And then rectangle 3 is actually a square. A square is a special type of rectangle. It has equal sides, so the base and height are actually both 4 on this one. So area would be 4 times 4, and then sometimes for a square, they will say the area is the side squared. So you could also write area equals 4 squared. And then 4 times 4, or 4 squared, would give us 16 square units. Okay, now we have some rectangles with the measurements written on there instead of the grid drawn out. We're going to do it the exact same way. It's still the same formula. Now, see how they have the 8.6 written at the top? No, that's not technically on the base, but remember, the sides that are directly across from each other have the same measurements in a rectangle or a square or a parallelogram. So the base is 8.6, the height is 3. So our area is going to be 8.6 times 3. Then we just need to do the math. When we are multiplying with a decimal, we multiply just like normal. 3 times 6 is 18, carry the 1. 3 times 8 is 24, plus 1 is 25. But we have to do one more step. There is 1 digit behind the decimal point here, so I must have the same in my answer. The area here is 25.8, and they did give us a label of centimeters. So it's going to be square centimeters or centimeters squared. The next practice problem has fractions in it, but we can still do that. Area is base times height again. In this situation, the base is 2 1/4 foot, and the height is 1 1/2 foot. There's a couple of options we could do here. We could change our fractions to decimals and multiply like that, or we can change our fractions to improper fractions. Right now they're mixed numbers. Change them and then multiply the fractions. So I'm going to go ahead and do it that way because it's been a while since we've worked with fractions. So we have 2 1/4. We've got to change that to an improper fraction, so we're going to do 4 times 2 plus 1. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 1 is 9, and then we use the same denominator. So 2 1/4, that's the same as 9/4. And then for 1 1/2, same thing. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3. So that's equivalent to 3/2. Now we can multiply 9/4 times 3/2. You just go straight across. 9 times 3 is 27. 4 times 2 is 8. So now we're going to divide 27 by 8. 8 will go into 27 3 times. 8 times 3 is 24. You have 3 left over. So when you write your final answer, 3 is your whole number. The remainder is your numerator, and what you were dividing by is the denominator. So it's 3 3/8 feet squared, or square feet. Sometimes in certain word problems, you are not going to be solving for the area. You might be given the area and you have to look for the base, or you might be given the area and you have to look for the height. We can change our formula around using algebra. So if we take our original formula, area equals base times height. Let's say I get a rectangle and they tell me that the area is 20 square units. The base is 5. We want to know what the height is. So plugging in what I have, area is 20, base is 5. I don't know the height. I've got to solve for the height. Now a lot of y'all could do this in your head, but it's not always going to be that easy. So we're trying to get h all alone on one side of the equal sign. The easiest thing to do, since it's 5 times h, do the opposite and divide by 5. And we've done this in our algebra unit before. So now h is by itself. 20 divided by 5 is 4. That tells me 4 equals the height. So what I did is I rearranged the equation. In this situation, I wanted to solve for height, so I divided by the base, and I got area divided by base will give me height, and it's the same thing. If you're looking for the base, you would do the opposite and you would divide by your height. So if you want the base, area divided by height is what you're going to do. So you can fill those in. Height equals the area divided by the base, or the base equals area divided by the height. And you will use this on your quiz. So put a star by that. Okay.